Hello, Cheetahs. This is your guided reading for Wednesday, March 10, 2021. This is day 3 lesson for extreme sports. In our lesson today, you're going to need your book, Extreme Sports, your writing journal, and a pencil. Please be sure you have all of those supplies before we begin. Pause the video and gather your supplies. Press play when you're ready to move on. Okay, let's move on. I'd like us to use the compare and contrast cards that were in my reading box. Let's read those before we begin. Compare. Number 1. Find 2 ideas to compare. Number 2. Write a question, like, how are blank and blank alike? Number 3. Answer your question. They both blank. That would be comparing the two. We could also take a look at the contrast card. Let's read that together. Contrast. Number 1. Find 2 ideas to contrast. Number 2. Write a question, like, how are blank and blank different? Number 3. Answer your question. One is blank, but the other is blank. Now that we've reviewed what compare and contrast look and sound like, let's begin by writing down some of our ideas and thoughts in our journals. I would like us to split up our journal into 2 sides to set us up for compare and contrast. Go ahead and let's write a line down the middle of one of your journal pages. Once you have your line down the middle of your journal page, let's go to our book and choose 2 extreme sports to compare. I think I'm going to compare kayaking and kite surfing. On the left-hand side, I'm going to write how they are the same on the left-hand side, I'm going to write how they are the same. On the right-hand side, I'm going to write how they are different. Like that. Here we go. When I look at kayaking and kite surfing, how are they the same? They are both in the water. I'm just going to write the word water sports. They are both water sports. Then I want to write how kayaking and kite surfing are different. Well, one has a paddle, one has a surfboard. I'm going to say paddle, VS for versus, surfboard. Now I have organized my thoughts and ideas. I know that kayaking and kite surfing are the same because they're both water sports. And I know kayaking and kite surfing are different because one has paddle versus one has surfboard. Good job. Now that I've organized that information, let's go up here to compare and let's plug in those into a sentence because we need to write a question. How are blank and blank alike? What would our sentence say? Yes. How are kayaking and kite surfing alike? Let's write that sentence. How are kayaking? Ooh, I think I spelled kayaking wrong. Let's use our reference. I did. There's no CK in kayaking. I have to make a correction. I'm glad I have my book for a reference. How are kayaking and kite surfing alike? There's our great sentence. All right, and what would my answer be for that? Let's reference our ideas. They're both what? They're both water sports. I could write, they are both water sports, but I think I could do an even better job at answering my question. How could I make it more of a complete answer? Any ideas? I could repeat part of my question. A really strong answer might sound like this. Kayaking and kite surfing are both water sports. That's a much better answer. Let's try that. Capital K, kayaking, and kite surfing are both water sports. That's a strong answer. Go ahead and pause the video here if you need to finish your writing, and then press play when you're ready to move on. All right, now let's write a sentence that contrasts the kayaking and the paddleboarding. That means, how are they different? Contrast is a fancy word for different. What would our sentence look like? It would look like this. How are blank and blank different? Let's write that sentence. Here we go. How are kayaking and kite surfing different? Don't forget question mark. All right, up here we see our answer example. Answering our question might sound like this. One is blank, but the other is blank. Let's look at our information we wrote down. One uses a paddle, but the other uses a surfboard. So we could use this information that we wrote down to help us fill in the blanks. One uses a paddle, but the other uses a surfboard. Let's write that. That's a strong answer. Capital O for one, uses a paddle. One uses a paddle, but the other uses a surfboard with a period. Be sure to finish your sentence. Great job today. If you would like an extra challenge, Cheetahs, you could write one more sentence either comparing or contrasting another sport. You could pick any sport in our book, any two sports I should say, and compare or contrast them on your own. That would be a great challenge for you today. I love you. Have a great day and good luck with your writing.